What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is In Vogue.
This is India Ari.
So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
It's the MLK holiday. We're talking to Kenan Thompson from Saturday Night Live. Plus, everybody's been talking about this Katt Williams thing. We're going to weigh in. This is Cafe Mocha.
Happy MLK weekend. Can you believe it? We made it to another MLK weekend, Angelique.
We absolutely did. I know people are excited about the Monday off and they're out doing club events and whatnot, but let us not forget the spirit of this occasion, which is freedom, which is, I don't want to say integration, but all of us living in peace and harmony together.
Definitely. And, since it is MLK weekend, I decided I wanted to do something fun for MLK. So I want to have a little MLK quiz I'm going to give you, Angelique. So,
oh boy.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Most people know these. Okay. So here's my first.
But okay, I'm sitting here by Google because I don't want to be made a fool of.
No, it's all good. Okay. So which president made MLK Day a holiday?
George Bush.
On November 2nd, 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed the King Holiday Bill into law, designating the third Monday in January a federal holiday in observance of the civil rights leader. And the legislation,
real?
Yes.
Ronald Reagan? I mean, I was just kidding about Bush. I just assumed it was going to be a Democratic president.
No, it was Ronald Reagan. Okay, here's something I know you can answer. What is the unofficial MLK song?
Happy birthday.
Right. Written by who?
Stevie Wonder. You know what's funny about that song? That, normally when you go to a white person's birthday party, they sing the standard happy birthday. But when you at a black person's house, it starts with happy birthday. And then it's like 3, 2, 1. And they got to do the whole song.
The whole song.
My little white friends be looking at me all sideways like, huh?
Well, that song was, of course, written by Stevie. He was very instrumental in also helping to get the King Day law passed. And so, of course, in order to get people's attention, he came up with this fabulous song, which we will be playing today. And it's just a song that when you hear it, we sing it at our birthdays, but also it's one of the pivotal reasons why this law was passed and it was really pushed. So we always want to thank Stevie Wonder for that. Okay, here's your next question.
I got my Google out. I'm ready.
Do all states celebrate MLK Day?
Well, it's a federal holiday, so they are supposed to. But I think it's an optional day off. Like you get to choose whether you want that off or Easter or something else.
Well, you are somewhat correct. At first, some states resisted observing the holiday, like states like Arizona, Alabama. But because, like you said, it was a federal holiday, they officially passed it. But some give it alternative names or they combine it with other holidays. So you can do that, but federally, every state has to observe it because it is law. Isn't that interesting?
Hang on. It is interesting. I want to know what the alternate names are. Do you have that?
Well, in Alabama, they celebrate MLK and Robert E. Lee Day. So they call it King Lee Day. Which
Robert E. Lee?
Yes, girl. Yes. And I believe Missouri does as well. They combined it. As long as they celebrate MLK, they're not avoiding the law, but they are allowed to alternate or give it different names for the holiday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you learn something every day, don't you? Okay.
You do.
Here's your next question. Who is the only non-president to have a national holiday on his name? That's easy. Oh, my goodness.
George Washington.
The only non-president It's Martin Luther King, Angelique.
Oh. So go back. Let me do it again.
Who is the only non-president to have a national holiday that is in his name?
President Obama. In the future. But since we're talking about MLK, then MLK Day.
It is Martin Luther King is the only citizen to have a national holiday within his name. So he was the figure that strived for progress and racial equality and equity during the modern civil rights movement. And he's the only non-president to have a national holiday. Yeah. What is the theme for MLK Day 2024? Google is your friend. We don't have that long, Angelique.
I'm a slow typer. Dream the impossible dream. Arise and pursue the legacy.
Definitely. That is correct. The 2024 MLK Celebration Week theme is Dream the Impossible Dream, Arise and Pursue the Legacy. It encourages individuals to chase their most ambitious dreams and work towards leaving a lasting impact. Isn't that
I like that?
I love that. Every year there is a theme that is attached with the MLK Day, and it's to help people, and it's all kinds of different events. How do you celebrate MLK Day? Just if you're just a regular person.
Well, I think that you try to give back to the community in some way, ideally, but worst case scenario, just go to the local parade, go out there and represent.
There are very meaningful activities to help celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. You can read books that are about civil rights and about his life. You can watch videos together. I know all the streaming services, they have some wonderful documentaries that are out now that not only about King, but about the civil rights era. That is a great way for the whole family to celebrate. You can volunteer together. As Angelique said, there are plenty of different services and things that need a volunteering on that day. You can share your dreams with the I Have a Dream activity. And lastly, like she said, you can participate in community events. And you can just Google, because every state has something different. Everyone has different shows or different projects or different services. So please just Google what your federal government is doing for your state, and you can find these different events to help participate. So are you doing anything special? Do you have to work?
I don't have to work, but I'm getting over COVID, so I'll probably be sleeping all day.
You know what? That you will be dreaming of I Have a Dream.
Yes, I'll be dreaming of I Have a Dream.
Cafe Mocha, Loni Love, Angelique, and Yo-Yo on the line. I have had a standing appointment with this man every Saturday night. He is an award-winning actor, comedian, and producer, best known for his work on Saturday Night Live, and he returns to the iconic late-night series for its 21st season as the longest-running cast member. He's my brother in comedy. Welcome to Cafe Mocha, Kenan Thompson. Hey, Kenan, how are you?
I'm great, sis. How you doing?
You know what? The last time I saw you, we were at the Emmys. You were the host. And I just want to say you were a phenomenal host. How was that experience? Because that was your first time hosting the Emmys.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was fun. It was a lot easier than I thought. Saturday Night Live is like the hardest, craziest thing ever. But the Emmys, we respect it so much, kind of, being performers and being artists and, wanting to believe in the community of artistry and all of that. So it's a big night for us, I guess. But, that being said, there's a lot of friends and people I worked with, staring back at me. So I wanted to do a good job. Forget about, all the people that might be watching at home. So it was a lot of stress, but it was also a lot of fun. Shout out to Reggie Hudlin for producing. He made it easy on me. So, yeah, it was great.
It was a wonderful, wonderful night. Now you
Thank
also,
you. Yeah, it really was.
You also can put on your resume author, because you have a new book titled When I Was Your Age, Life Lessons, Funny Stories, and Questionable Parenting Advice from a Professional Clown. This is a very revealing memoir. I really enjoyed it. Why did you want to tell your story now, Kenan?
I mean, it seems like something that, people that are in the, kind of public persona kind of just do eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of approach me like, you ever thought about doing a book? I didn't know if I had, enough to talk about that people, that actually read books would want to read about. But then I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I think I got enough to say at this point. So work with some good people, and now it's out and it's in people's hands. And it's crazy to see people bringing it to me to sign, you know what I mean? Like at work and stuff like that. Like people I've been working with for 20 years now, all of a sudden bringing me my face, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
I just think, Kenan, it is so important for us, especially as Black creatives, to tell our story. If we don't tell our history, who's going to tell it? So I really want people to go out and read your book. It's right now, it's on Amazon. It's the #1 comedy bestseller. And let's get into it a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
is. Is that the news? That's the news?
Oh, yeah. See, I looked you up. I do my job.
Fantastic. Yeah, I try not to look myself up. You know what I mean? On humble pie.
Well, you've been in this business for 30 years, but let's go back, because as you were coming up, your parents were together, but then they split, and you have a great relationship with both your mom and dad. They were both in your life, but because this is a radio show geared towards women, I want to talk about your mom becoming a single mother and also a stage mom. How did that affect you growing up?
I mean, I was just, lucky enough to witness, a strong Black woman at her strongest, like 2 kids in her hand, more so than like my dad, because my dad was going through it at the time. And, it took him a while to kind of like get his footing to where he could, pay attention to everything or whatever. And, that's not necessarily a while, but 2 years can be a long time when you're the main parent, shuffling 2 kids back and forth. And at that time, my brother was in high school, and he was going to high school like in North Atlanta, and I was in high school or middle school in South Atlanta. So you can just imagine like all that back and forth. And then I got these actor dreams and like, acting classes and stuff like that to go to. And by the time I was doing a lot of martyring kind of by myself, MARTA is the, transport system down there to train. But, as a parent, you got to make sure, even if you're not taking everybody everywhere, you got to know where everybody's at. That can be stressful, But, yeah, and then she would travel with me. Like, she took me to L.A. and was with me. Luckily, she's a nurse, and she ended up getting a job at UCLA when I shot The Mighty Ducks, my first little movie or whatever. And I owe her the world.
The thing is, too, there are so many wonderful stories, and I want people to pick it up. We're talking to Kenan Thompson about his new book, When I Was Your Age. Also in the book, you talk about, the experiences of going through being a child actor. You were very successful. And in the book, you talk about this horrible accountant. You had to file for bankruptcy. What did you learn from that? Because to me, when I was reading it, I was like, even though you have bad times, you can get through it.
It was an ongoing process. And it was also, a reaffirmation of the good in people, because good people did come around me and, did mentor me and get me through it as long as I, showed up. You know what I mean? I couldn't just sit in the house and sulk, and people wanted to help me because they did know that I was a worker and didn't deserve this, that, and the other. Once they heard the story. That took a while though, because it all just kind of happened at the same time when I left Nickelodeon and kind of discovered, I was broke. So, jobs here and there, but everything kind of, believe it, and everything goes in a circle, like Barbershop 2 being kind of the upswing on that. And then right after that was the SNL audition.
In your book, you also talk about during your Nickelodeon days, how you tried to hang out at the comedy clubs in Hollywood. But you decided not to hang out or perform because, they was kind of, looking at you like, hey, you're already here. You're already established.
Well, that's why I stopped hanging out there. But I didn't even think about performing because it was like, it wasn't what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I always considered myself kind of like an actor with a sense of humor. And I was kind of just enjoying the show and like enjoying being around the culture in a strange environment because I hadn't, I was a long way from home, you know what I mean? But then I started like hearing little comments, thinking that I was like spying or like, trying to take material. I was like, I would never, you know what I mean? I'm just here for the daiquiris.
And also in the book, you get very revealing about And this is something that I really appreciated because I deal with this as body positivity, body affirmation.
Mm.
You're open about your weight and your health. Talk about it, especially being a Black man. How difficult was that to open up about?
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic, you know what I mean? Because it's a lifelong personal thing. Like I've been hearing, since I was like a kid, basically, because, that's how, natural environments kind of are. There's certain kids that are kind of bullyish and, especially in the 80s, and they call out what they see, like not to be mean, but it's just like non-filter kind of stuff. But when you're on the receiving end, you hear it, you know what I mean? Like you hear the description of yourself, and it's like, oh, well, I guess, that's what they see or whatever. But it didn't, necessarily bother me because I was still, athletic and this and that and the other. But as I got older and I got more kind of like not necessarily paying attention to things or okay with the result of eating whatever I wanted to without doing much exercise because I was still, receiving kind of love from people or whatever, it kind of, it got to points where it was out of hand, in my opinion. And now that I have daughters, I don't want to be a reflection of, bad behavior like that. When your health takes a turn, it's pretty dire. So you don't want to help that along necessarily. And it just, took a while to come to that realization. But, also I like to eat.
I do too. So I totally understand, but like you said, you have two beautiful daughters that are you're a girl dad and you were married, but you're now a single dad. What challenges do you have being a working single dad?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm not so single, like, as far as like the parenting is concerned, like we're co-parenting like very strongly. Their mom is, really all over it. So all is well, kind of on that page.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is a different dynamic, and you just got to like make sure they feel supported, and they're happy. So I'm just hovering over them every day, making sure that they're straight.
They are so cute. Can I tell you that? Oh, they are just adorable little girls. So I'm glad to
see. They're
see.
Sweethearts.
They're very, very sweet. Congratulations on 21 seasons of SNL. You give great stories in your book about how you came up, and not only through Nickelodeon, but through SNL. And I thought that was just fascinating. Who was one of your favorite guest hosts?
I love Dave, man. Like I was always a big fan. Like Eddie Murphy, of course, is the pinnacle, as far as like, what an unbelievable moment this kind of is. But like, if there was anybody I was a fan of, equally like Eddie, it would be Dave, and like, it's just cool to be around, a thinker like that.
Mm-hmm, definitely. It's Cafe Mocha on the line. Kenan Thompson. We're talking about his new book, When I Was Your Age. It's a memoir. It's fascinating. He tells you the whole story of how he came up. You were a child actor, but Kenan, every time I see you, it's no drugs from what I see. It's no drunkenness from what I see. It's just a positivity. How did you get through Hollywood? 30 years of that. What was the key?
I mean, my mom is on me. You know what I mean? Like my mama don't take no mess, and I'm 45 and she going with me to the Colbert Show tonight. You know what I'm saying? So like, hey, I can give the credit of her voice being in the back of my mind, but I was also very busy. You know what I mean? And like, I wanted to be busy. I didn't want to just be like sitting around searching for a good feeling. Like I got my good feelings from like making people happy or just being around people, which is a good thing, growing up in the church will give you, like they talk about, the fellowship together kind of thing, being a thing that's good, it just sends you in the right vibration, basically, for the rest of the week. That's why, people do it on a weekly basis. Some people do it, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week because they really make it their life. But at the same time, even if you do it a little bit, you definitely feel the energy of being around others that are on positivity.
Definitely, because I remember the last time I saw you, we were taping Byron Allen's Superfest. You that marathon, and the only person that was still smiling after that 12-hour shoot was Kenan.
You know, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, you gonna let this torture you, or you gonna like have a good time, and also like enjoy the company? You know, like we around, loved ones who are very, very talented people. So I always look at that as like, how lucky am I to be so close to this? You know, when I was as a kid so far away, I never dreamed of like any of this. Sitting in my grandmama's house in Lynchburg, Virginia, never.
Well,
as far as it like actually happening.
Definitely. But you worked on it and you persevered. And that's why I want everyone to go out and get his memoir, When I Was Your Age, because it details a lot of fascinating stories. This is your 21st year on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, come on. The longest running cast member. I you know what? But I don't see the show now without you. Like, I seriously
Isn't that crazy?
don't. Yeah.
So imagine me, because I'm the same person, you know what I mean? Because I watched the show before I got there, and it was like, I never imagined my stamp on it, you know what I mean? Or anything like that. But now I've been there like almost half the time.
Wow. I mean, I can tell like when they pan the camera to you, it's like the Kenan reaction. It's like, you just make it bad. If it's going downhill, they just like pan it to Kenan, and you give that wonderful baby face look, and it's like, okay, that's just funny. I mean, did you develop that, or is it just something that they said, hey, let's do? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just an obvious sense of humor thing, like kind of what everybody's thinking kind of face, you know what I mean? And a lot of like probably mirror time when I was little, but also just like watching the heroes, you know what I mean? There's a lot of like reactionary stuff and different things like, Coming to America, or Denzel does this one crazy one in Malcolm X, you know what I mean? When he's like serving on the train and he has this like, fantasy moment of mushing a pie in a dude's face, and then he snaps out of it, but he gives a look back before he walks off. And I remember my buddy pointing that out, and I was like, oh, it's like little subtleties like that you really catch, that there's humor in little things like that. So a look that I'm frozen on, that everybody's already thinking the same thing, yeah, it always scores.
What is your New Year's hope or wish?
Ooh, man, I think we need balance. You know what I mean? It's a lot of imbalance right now. So I wish for balance. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't want to get overly specific as far as like, which battle or war is going on that I, want to settle down or anything. I think we all kind of know if you watch the news, but man, between balance and the humanity kind of side of things.
Definitely. The book is titled When I Was Your Age, Life Lessons, Funny Stories, and Questionable Parenting Advice from a Professional Clown. We've had so much fun with you, Kenan Thompson. Thank you for stepping in to Cafe Mocha. I appreciate you, brother. Have a happy New Year.
Man, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all your listeners. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
If you miss any part of this conversation and to catch the full version, all you have to do is go to wherever you get your podcasts and type in Cafe Mocha Radio. On the way, comedians Loni Love and Tacarra Williams weigh in on Katt Williams.
We're at Cafe Mocha Radio.
Hey, this is Claude Kelly from We Sound Crazy with your Black Music Month Spotlight. Victoria Monet is an American singer and songwriter. As an artist, Monet released a second installment of her Jaguar trilogy, titled Jaguar 2. The album won Best R&B Album and Best Engineered Album Non-Classical at the 66th Grammy Awards, and featured hit singles such as Smoke.
And so I know I want the generation where that music was their prime to appreciate it, but also my generation to find some of the lyrics fun and use them as captions. So I want to have that juxtaposition.
Party Girls, and the RAA certified platinum track, On My Mama.
Hey, it's Angelique here. Walt Disney World Resort is bringing you the culture with music, art, and food. Imagine savoring Princess and the Frog's decadent bread pudding and berry beignets at Disney's Port Orleans Resort. Take in Disney's Animal Kingdom Park's Circle of Life Festival, celebrating the Lion King and more. Walt Disney World Resort is a place where you can come and celebrate with your family, and you can do it soulfully. Bring yourself to Walt Disney World Resort and celebrate the culture.
It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Loni Love, yo. I'm Angelique. On the line is comedian Tacarra Williams. Welcome to Cafe Mocha. I know it's your first time.
Hello.
She is crazy. Now, for those that don't know you, Tacarra Williams, she was a former school teacher, a plus-size model, motivational speaker. She's a writer that's known throughout the comedy industry as the beautiful beast. And from the moment she picks up a microphone until the time she walks off stage, audiences can feel the laughter erupt. Tacarra, let's go back. A school teacher that look, you can tell she a teacher. She's she's
gonna tell you how to spell it in a minute.
Transitioning into comedy. How did that happen?
You know what? I was teaching preschool and I got into comedy from a bad breakup. You know how when women we go through bad breakups, we decide I gotta find myself and get back to me. So I told myself I wanted to get into acting. So I go to this audition in New Jersey because I'm from New York. I didn't get the part, and it was supposed to be a really serious part, and I made it comedic. And the producer said, you need to be doing stand-up. And I said, no. And they said, yes, if we can get you on a show, would you do the show? And I said, well, what would I talk about? And they said, well, just talk about what you just normally talk about. You're naturally funny. And that night, they got me on a show in Harlem with Thompson was hosting. And I was supposed to do 3 minutes. He left me on stage for about 8 minutes. And I literally just talked about the difference between how men break up and how women break up.
Wow.
And I did a great job. And when I got off stage, Omar went up and he said, how long have you been doing stand-up? And I said, well, today's my first day. And he said, what? And I said, yeah. And all the women and even some of the men after the show were just like, oh my goodness, you were so funny. I was going through a breakup too, and I never noticed that there was healing in comedy. And once I realized that there was healing in comedy, I was sold. That was it.
Definitely.
I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
That's the beauty of stand-up, especially, we need as many different voices, especially female voices. Was it hard for you being a female? Did you see a difference in doing and, actually navigating the industry?
I did notice the difference between the men and the women. I think one of the main things I noticed was that there weren't as many women. I noticed that, one of the main things I noticed was, it was almost like they always had to prep the crowd that a female was coming to the stage.
Yes.
Are you ready for a female comic? You ready to hear a female perspective? Y'all ready for a woman? Just bring me up, please.
Thank you.
Jesus. I realized that I would get offered a lot more shows than most because I was attractive, because I'm attractive. There was this expectation of, you can't be pretty and funny. There was this expectation of if women talked about sex on stage, you were copping out. That's too easy. There was just so many rules for women. I know now in this day and age, there's a lot of rules and a lot of, everybody just feels the way they're in their feelings about certain things. Everything's so sensitive. But for women in comedy, it was like this years ago. It's been like this. Don't talk about sex or nobody's going to take you serious. Don't talk about your kids or bad relationships or because nobody's going to. It's just so many rules. And I used to listen to the men do comedy and I'm like, but they talking about it. Well, that's different. The men can. But if you talk about it, then nobody's going to take you serious and stand up. And I was just like, oh, and I kind of built my stand-up set based on, those concepts that were taught to me early on in comedy.
It's Cafe Mocha on the line, talking to comedian Tacarra Williams. I met you on the circuit, but we were together. I think it was the first time was with Snoop Dogg when he was doing the short for, I think it was Peacock. Snoop done set up here after the second show, and he nice and high, and he was like, and Tacarra was like, she's right there, hanging on, just keeping us, keeping us going. How does it feel to be, knowing that that you're helping be a part of these wonderful shows?
It actually feels really good. It's extremely empowering. I love being a part of the comedy as it's moving forward right now.
And just of recently, we have this big conversation that was brought on about Katt Williams. Now, I do know that you're on the Katt Williams Dark Matter Tour. Congratulations. Can I say, I've been knowing everybody for 20 years. I've known everybody. I've opened for everybody. And the one thing I can say about Katt is that I actually started with him. We were down here in Hollywood at the it was called the Hollywood Casino, and every Thursday Katt would get on stage. He had his own show. He could do an hour, and then he put us up for like 10 minutes, and then he'd do another hour, and he just kept people going, and it built up his career. Right now, we're dealing with this whole conversation of comedy and what's going on with it. What is, as a woman in this game, how do you feel about what's being said and what's going on?
I think the world is too sensitive. I think that I understand the sensitivity in some areas, but for comics, just let us do our job. I think that the cancel culture is ridiculous, especially when it comes to stand-up comedians going on, because comedy is so subjective, especially for stand-up comedians going on stage and saying something, and because you don't agree with what they said or you're offended by something that they said, now that comedian has the possibility of being canceled. I think that, if I had to talk to any comedian today about, because I always get people asking me, I want to get into comedy, what advice would you give me? Just be funny. Like, that was the number one thing that was told to me was, if you are undeniably funny, there is nothing that anybody can say. There is nothing that anybody can do. There is no situation that you can't get yourself out of. As long as you are undeniably funny, be kind, but still stand up for yourself. Sometimes you just find yourself in positions and you just like, I remember I was in front of the Laugh Factory. I had hosted Chocolate Sundays, and I was doing like this little hosting gig outside on the camera. And this comedian came up to me and literally, Loni, humped my leg after the show in front of all the comedians. And as uncomfortable as I was, I said, hey, can you stop? And he just kept saying, well, you look so fine. You look so good. And he just kept pulling his groin closer to my thigh. And I put my elbow on his chest because I'm shocked. And I'm like, can you stop? And the cameraman says, hey, she asked you to stop. Can you effing stop? Like, how many times does she have to ask you to stop? And the guy goes, oh, I'm just joking with her. And the camera guy says, I'm recording all of this. And it's just like, to sit there and not be protected by people who you consider your counterparts, your coworkers in the game. It was just crazy. So when it comes to female comedians, I always tell them, be mindful of who you work with. If you're hesitant about somebody, just say no and do your research. Because, this stand-up comedy for women, it can be really scary.
Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is Angelique with the Espresso. In case you've been sleeping, Katt Williams broke the internet on Shannon Sharpe's show for saying this.
Him and Tyler Perry can't play a man to save their life. They play good women, and I believe that the best actor should be in the best role.
And then he talked about Ricky Smiley.
What he told everybody was, Katt Williams, and don't nobody know who he is. I'm on the radio. I'm with Steven Said. Everybody know me. That's what he told everybody that would listen to on the set. He was so egregious, I put in my contract that I won't work with Ricky Smiley again unless he's in a dress.
And then he talked about Cedric.
Cedric told you when you asked him, did you steal Katt Williams' joke? Yeah. He said, it don't line up. How it don't line up that I did it on TV in 2018? You came to see me at the Comedy Store do it in 2019 and then did it on the Kings of Comedy.
You need to watch the whole thing. That's the Espresso. On the line, Tacarra Williams is currently on tour with Katt Williams. We're talking about his latest interview.
She's right now on the Dark Matter comedy tour with Katt Williams and a host of other people.
Katt is the first person I've toured with. I've done dates. You know how, Loni, you just do, you know how you just do dates with a comedian. Like, I've done a couple dates with D-Ray. I've done a couple dates with Bill Bellamy. But Katt is the first comedian that I've actually went on a tour with. Wow. And that's because I've always been nervous as a woman to go on. Like, what's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name. He was really sweet. I've done dates, but I've always been nervous as a female comic to actually go on the road because I would hear so many stories of women who just didn't have good road stories. Mm-hmm. And I would just be nervous about just going on the road. And when I got offered the opportunity to go on the road with Katt, I expressed to my agent, I was like, it was like a family barbecue. Like, well, who all gonna be there? And who cooking, And she just told me the lineup. She said it's gonna be Mark Curry. It's gonna be Tommy Davidson. Miss Pretty Ricky's on the lineup. Red Grant's hosting. Zoo Man opens. Little Mo performs. And I said, oh, it's like a whole thing. And she said, yeah, it's not just like you and Katt, And I was like, okay, I think I feel more comfortable with that. And now that I've been on the road with him for about 6 months, I absolutely love it. It is a family. I mean, from the security to Katt to Red Grant, it's just like a huge family on tour together. And I'm glad this was my first experience with touring, with actually really touring, because I was scared, girl.
No, I always tell, females when they get into the game, it's like, hey, don't do nothing crazy. Cause I've known females to sleep with, promoters and just to get on stage. I said, no, the first thing, I ain't doing that. I ain't gonna sleep and work. It's gotta be one or the other.
Right. Loni, I got when I first moved to California, I got offered to go on the road, and the comedian said to me, I want to take you on the road with me. This was in front of the Improv. And I said, oh, I'm so excited. Of course. And he said, but you know what happens on the road stays on the road. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll get back to you. And I never got back to him. And I said, absolutely not. And
good for
people
you.
Crazy, girl.
That's the way you have to do, It's Cafe Mocha. We're talking to comedian Tacarra Williams. She's right now on the Dark Matter comedy tour with Katt Williams and a host of other people. Tacarra, were you surprised with how that podcast with Shannon Sharpe and Katt Williams blew up?
You know what? I thought I'm surprised at how it blew up. Part of me is surprised, but part of me isn't, because Katt hasn't done podcasts or media tours or anything, no promotion or anything for years. He hasn't been, on social media. I think he just got on Instagram like a couple of months ago. If not, he just got on Instagram. So the fact that he did a podcast and people haven't heard from him publicly in years, I think it was a really good play by Shannon Sharpe to get him on. Because people may not say it, but Katt's been touring for years. So outside of him touring, he doesn't do much promotion for it. You don't hear from him. You don't see him. You don't hear from him. So I think pulling somebody in who publicly hasn't said a word to anybody in years was very strategic and very smart. I think that the fact that we have the Dark Matter tour happening right now, and I mean, it sells out. I mean, I'm talking thousands and thousands of people. It is the biggest crowd I've ever performed in front of in my life. I just think it was very strategic. I didn't know it was going to break the internet. That I didn't know. I didn't know my mama was going to call me about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even know my mama knew. I didn't even know she know how to work nothing, but she figured it out on the YouTube, as she would say. I didn't know it was going to be this big. I didn't know like people was going to wake up and choose violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that was what was going to happen.
It was like the first 7 minutes. I'm like,
Loni, when I tell you I was on a plane, and I get Wi-Fi on the plane, and everybody's DMing me like, this is blah, blah, blah with Katt. So I go to YouTube, and I'm on the plane. Wait, baby, when I tell you I'm in first class, wait a minute, that's me yelling, because I had on my headphones, and I forgot I had on my headphones. Stop! Oh, this is good. Everybody is looking at me like, what's she watching? I said, this man crazy. I think I said this man crazy about 50 times. Oh, he crazy. Oh, they gonna be mad. Oh, Lord. What? And the flight attendant said, you having a good time? I said, am I loud? He said, yes. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. But I'm watching something, so when you land, you need to watch this too. And there was just so much controversy. It's still so much controversy about it. And the crazy thing was that before the new year came in, I had caused some controversy on social media because I put up my top 10 most attractive comedians.
I saw that.
Comedians.
I love it.
Babe, Lonnie, when I tell you the men was mad, I never seen men be so sassy. The sassiness came out of some of these male comics so fast. They were so angry that they didn't make the list. And I just said, it's a list. It's subjective. It's my list. It's the men that I think are attractive. If you didn't make it, it doesn't mean you're not attractive. It just means you're not attractive to me. And they were so mad. I was getting DMs and voice notes and messages and text messages of men who were just like, so I didn't make your top 10. And I said, well, you don't see yourself up there, do you?
If you miss any part of the show, all you have to do is go listen to the podcast. Go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen, type in Cafe Mocha Radio. Until next week, you know where to find us, at Cafe Mocha Radio on all platforms. Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Super Radio. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.
Hi, this is Chuck Harmony from We Sound Crazy with your Black Music Month Spotlight. Missy Elliott is a pioneering American songwriter, rapper, singer, and producer. She emerged in the 1990s as part of the R&B girl group Sister and gained widespread recognition for her innovative approach to performance and music production.
Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly.
In 2020, Billboard ranked her at number 5 on their list of the 100 greatest music video artists of all time. And in 2023, Elliott became the first female rapper inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Being the first to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame means so much to me because I never thought that in a million years, like that's probably the top tier of making it as an artist.
Hey, it's Angelique here. Walt Disney World Resort is bringing you the culture with music, art, and food. Imagine savoring Princess and the Frog's decadent bread pudding and berry beignets at Disney's Port Orleans Resort. Take in Disney's Animal Kingdom Park's Circle of Life Festival, celebrating the Lion King and more. Walt Disney World Resort is a place where you can come and celebrate with your family, and you can do it soulfully. Bring yourself to Walt Disney World Resort and celebrate the culture.